Wala raw psikolohiya ang mga Pinoy. Kaya naman, sa kanyang pagbabalik, gusto niyang patunayan na mayroon tayong sariling psikolohiya at pag-iisip.
Today, we are going to tackle about Psikolohiyang Pilipino. But first, here are the members of Group 5. I, Angel Rose C. Caloquim, Cedric Lawrence C. Bellew, Jennifer L. Gonzalez, Rian Kenneth M. Talusan, Sofia S. Ampao, Daryl Mark G. Marquez, and Cyril Alaysa Dalimbang.
Psikolohiyang Pilipino is a Filipino psychology that aims to understand Filipino experiences and thoughts from a Filipino perspective, contributing to universal psychology. It emphasizes social engagement, language and culture psychology, and national identity, and is applied in various aspects of daily life. When someone is going through a cultural identity crisis, for instance, their thoughts and feelings can be impacted by Psikolohiyang Pilipino. This might happen when someone tries to make sense of their cultural origins or find it difficult to reconcile their own experiences with what society expects of them. Reconnecting with one's cultural history can provide comfort and empowerment for an individual who embraces Psikolohiyang Pilipino ideas, such as language, psychology, and national identity. This can have a good effect on the individual's thoughts and emotions. They might experience increased pride in who they are and a greater feeling of belonging, which would enhance their mental health and resilience in the face of adversity. Virgilio Enriquez, a pioneer of Psikolohiyang Pilipino, Enriquez emphasized the importance of using the Filipino language and culture in psychological research and teaching. He also encouraged a re-evaluation of traditional Filipino values. Virgilio Enriquez took this action because he considered it was essential to comprehend Filipino experiences and ideas from a Filipino point of view in order to advance universal psychology. Enriquez sought to develop a psychological framework that is based in Filipino experiences and ideals in Psikolohiyang Pilipino by highlighting the significance of language, national identity, culture, psychology, and social involvement. With this method, people can connect their particular challenges and victories to larger social setting. Think of someone who adheres to Psikolohiyang Pilipino ideals. For instance, since they are aware of how important these get-togethers are to promoting our sense of togetherness and belonging among Filipinos, they may take an active part in town fiestas or local festivals because they understand the importance of achieving community well-being over individual accomplishment. They could also place a higher priority on developing solid relationship with their neighbors than on pursuing personal goals because they value the strength of community connection. When things get difficult, they might look to their family for support instead of looking outside the community.
Rethinking Filipino values. Bahala na, hiya, utang na loob, pakikisama versus pakikipagkapwa, pakikiramdam.
Thinking Filipino values. Virgilio Enriquez. Enriquez emphasizes the importance of using Filipino language and culture. He also encouraged the re-evaluation of traditional Filipino values. Let's examine these three Filipino values from the exogenous and indigenous perspective. Bahala na. The Filipino cultural value bahala na has no exact English translation. Bostrom, 1968, was the first psychologist to analyze this value by comparing it to American fatalism. Tomas Andres, the one who published the Dictionary of Filipino Culture and Values, defines bahala na as the Filipino attitude that makes him accept suffering and problems, leaving everything to God. Bahala na ang Diyos. God will take care of us. Andres, 1994. He believed that bahala na is a fatalistic resignation or withdrawal from engagement or crisis, or shirking from personal responsibility. Lagmay, 1977. Bahala na is not a fatalism, but determination and risk-taking. Utang na loob. Utang na loob was translated by Kaut 1961 as debt of gratitude. Andres 1994, the principle of reciprocity incurred when an individual helps another. Hollister 1961, to show his gratitude by returning the favor with interest.
Hiya, Sibley 1994, an American scholar, translated hiya as shame. Lynch 1961, saw hiya as the uncomfortable feeling that accompanies awareness of being socially unacceptable position or performing a socially unacceptable action. Bonifacio 1976, altered as to the different meanings of the word hiya depending on its form.
Pakikisama at pakikipagkapwa. Pakikisama was identified by Lynch by 1961 to 1973, giving it the English translation of maintaining smooth interpersonal relations. By going along with the group or the majority decision, we as a Filipino, pakikisama is one of our characteristics. We like to be with others and we can be with them without the feeling of awkwardness. We Filipino kasing hilig natin makibilong sa iba. By that, we get along with others and we called it pakikisama. Well, not all Filipino naman have this kind of concept, but there's some. One of the example of Lynch is conformity, which is we as an individual change our attitudes, beliefs, actions, and etc. For the sake na mapabilong lang sa particular group na yan, minsan kasi if we na try to fit in sa iba, kailangan natin i-adjust kung sino tayo, kasi tayo ang nakikisama. Hindi naman kasi pwede na ikaw yung makikisama, tapos yung particular group na gusto mo mapabilong ang mag-a-adjust, and conformity is one of the key to pakikisama. In Filipino social psychology, the concept of kapwa, as introduced by Virgilio Enriquez in 1978 and further developed in 1994, is foundational. As its essence, kapwa emphasizes the interconnectedness and shared humanity among individuals. It serves as the core of Filipino values and informs social interactions in various contexts. Next, we have pakikipagkapwa, or the act of treating others as kapwa, is central to Filipino interpersonal relationships. Within this framework, there are two categories of kapwa. We have ibang tao or outsider and hindi ibang tao or one of us. So, ang ibang tao, which means outsider, this category encompasses individuals who are perceived as outsiders or not belong to one's immediate social circle. Interactions with ibang tao can vary in intensity, ranging from mere civility to deeper levels of engagement. So we have an example, pakikitungo or civility, pakikisalamuha or act of mixing, pakikilahok or act of joining, pakikibagay or conformity, and pakikisama or being united with a group. For example, a workplace where colleges from different departments come together for a team building activity. Initially, they engage in civility by exchanging greetings. As the activity progresses, they move towards joining by actively participating in team exercises, which means pakikilahok. Throughout the event, they maintain united by fostering a cooperative and friendly atmosphere. So, we have there the pakikitungo, pakikilahok, and pakikisama. So, next, we have hindi ibang tao or one of us. This category includes individuals who are perceived as belonging to one social group or community. Interactions with hindi ibang tao involve a deeper levels of connection and understanding. So we have pakikipagpalagayang loob. This entails fostering rapport, understanding, and acceptance with others. Next, we have pakikisangkot, where individuals actively engage or involve themselves in the concerns or affairs of others. And lastly, we have pakikiisa. This represents the highest level of connection where individual feels a profound sense of unity or oneness with others. For example, a close-knit family facing a difficult decision together. They engage in fostering by openly discussing their thoughts and feelings, empathizing with each other's perspectives. As they reach a consensus, They demonstrate themselves in concern by collectively working towards a solution that aligns with their shared values and goals, ultimately experiencing unity as they stand united in their decision. So in that example, we just use the hindi ibang tao or the examples of pakikipagpalagayang loob, pakikisangkot, and pakikiisa. So in both categories, the concept of kapwa underscores the importance of recognizing and honoring the humanity and interconnectedness sharing among individuals, whether they are perceived as outsiders or members of one's own community. So Enriquez 1992 reconceptualization of Filipino behavior patterns and values distinguish between colonial or accommodative surface values such as hiya, utang na loob, and pakikisama, and confrontative surface values like bahala na, sama or lakas ng loob, and pakikibaka with kapwa as the core value, pakikiramdam as the pivotal interpersonal value, and kagandahang loob as the linking socio-personal value.
It also associated with the above the societal values such as karangalan or dignity, katarungan or justice, kalayaan or freedom.
In each example, Enriquez's values framework sheds light on underlying motivations and behaviors within Filipino society, influencing individuals' actions and societal dynamics. So Enriquez highlights that while Filipino societal values like karangalan, katarungan, and kalayaan exhibit a blend of Eastern and Western influences, the core of Filipino pagkatao or personality remains inherently Asian, reflecting a synthesis of external Western manifestation with internal Asian values.
So according to Mataragnon 1987, pakikiramdam is a feeling for another or exercising great care and deliberation. So pakikiramdam is rooted in Filipino culture, embodies a shared emotional sensitivity and consideration for others, characterized by a hesitation to react, attentiveness to subtle cues, and deliberate mental role-playing, reflecting a deeply empathetic approach to interpersonal relations. Pakikiramdam is especially useful in conducting research in rural areas due to its emphasis on sensitivity and empathy, facilitating deeper connections with community members and uncovering nuanced cultural insights. Comparison of Filipino values and Filipino perspectives. So, Filipino values and attitudes in Western cultures frequently share a focus on family centrality, hospitality, and respect for the elderly. So, Filipino and Western culture share a profound reverence for family, hospitality, and respect for the elderly, values that serve as cornerstones in fostering societal cohesion and individual well-being. In both cultural contexts, the family unit occupies a central role, providing not only emotional support but also transmitting cultural heritage and values across generations. The practice of hospitality, deeply ingrained in both societies, reflects a universal acknowledgement of the importance of forging connections, bridging cultural divides, and fostering a sense of belonging through warm reception and generous treatment of guests. Furthermore, the mutual generation for the elderly underscores a shared recognition of the wisdom, experience, and cultural contributions of previous generations. Across Filipino and Western cultures, elders are revered not only for their age but also for their invaluable insights and guidance. This collective respect for elders symbolizes a commitment to preserving cultural heritage and fostering intergenerational dialogue, highlighting a common understanding of the enduring significance of family ties, hospitality, and mutual respect in promoting harmonious social relations and community well-being.
Indirect communication. Indirect communication is a significant aspect of Filipino personality, characterized by sensitivity to non-verbal cues and concern for others' feelings. These have led to the development of pakiramdam or shared inner perception, which is a desirable skill in social interactions. These indirect communication styles has resulted in euphemisms in verbal exchange, exoricef, body language, and voice intonations. However, when these behaviors conflict with Western ways, foreigners may question the useful honesty or hypocrisy, making it challenging for non-Filipinos to understand these messages. Forms of indirect communication. A. Verbal indirect communication. It involves conveying messages indirectly through language choices, suggestion, and implications. For example, using polite language to make requests. Would you mind passing me the salt? Instead of pass me the salt, employing euphemisms to soften the impact of negative information. He's in a better place now instead of he passed away. Letter B. Nonverbal indirect communication, including body language, facial expressions, and spatial awareness also contribute to indirect communication. For example, rolling one's eyes to express disdain or disagreement without saying a word. Standing at a distance from someone to indicate discomfort or a desire for personal space.
Externality and internality. Salazar highlights the internal to external concept in the Filipino personality based on indigenous history and culture. In Philippine language and culture, honor is divided into two aspects, which are the puri and dangal. Puri presents external honor, derived from the external recognition or physical characteristics such as virginity. On the other hand, dangal signifies inner glorification, which comes from one's true values, character, and achievements. Other examples of this duality include happiness, or saya and ligaya in Tagalog, control, or pigil and timpi, and feeling, or dama and damdam. The concept of internality and externality in Filipino culture is like having two sides of a coin, where sa kabilang banda is kung paano or ano yung tingin ng iba sa'yo from the outside. And the other side naman is kung ano yung pakiramdam mo or kung ano yung tingin mo sa sarili mo on the inside. And it's important to be aware of both when understanding Filipino people. The Great Cultural Divide. It refers to a significant disparity within a society between two distinct cultural groups or classes, often based on socioeconomic status, education, and cultural preferences. This division can manifest in various aspects of life, including leisure activities, entertainment choices, language usage, and attitude towards others. Sa Pilipinas, some people like different things and look down on each other based sa mga interest na meron ng bawat isa or mga interest nila, such as popular culture or highbrow culture. Pero, it's not where they come from na nagde-divide sa kanila. It's their cultural differences. Katulad na lang halimbawa, in the context of Filipino society, the great cultural divide can be observed sa differences natin in language. So, di ba, once nag-speak ka ng English, parang you sound so superior na parang yung mga gumagamit ng Filipino or regional dialects is they felt inferior, di ba? Na like, okay, kapag magaling mag-English or ganito is elite na sila, ganyan, magaling na sila, mas magaling sila sa atin, ganito, ganyan. So, itong divide na to can lead to perceptions of superiority or inferiority between two groups, and it may impact social interactions, also access to resources and opportunities for advancement. So, understanding and addressing this cultural gap is important for fostering inclusivity and promoting social cohesion within the society.
Now, let's start to behavioral patterns and values structure. This part have accommodation surface value, associated behavioral patterns, conformative surface value, pivotal interpersonal value, core value, linking social personal values, and associated social values. Station surface value have the word hiya or propriety or dignity, utang na loob, gratitude, solidarity or norm of reciprocity, pakikisama, companionship, esteem or SIR. Then associated behavioral patterns have the word biro or joke, lambing, we know that as well, sweetness, and tampo, effective disappointment. The next one is confrontative surface value. It has the bahala na or determination, lakas ng loob or guts, pakikibaka or cooperative resistance. And the next one is pivotal interpersonal value, pakiramdam or pakikipagkapwa-tao, shared inner perception, yan yun. And core value, the next one is core values, kapwa, shared identity. And the next one is linking social personal values, kagandahang loob, pagkamakatao or shared humanity. And the last one is associated societal values, karangalan or dignity, katarungan or justice, kalayaan or freedom. Now let's proceed to the two uri ng kapwa or two types of kapwa. The first one is ibang tao or outsider. The word ibang tao has five parts ba ito? The first one is pagsasarili or individuation, pag-iwas, avoidance, paghiwalay or separation, pagmamalaki, in English, autonomy, pakikinabang or personal gain. Then, the second na uri ng kapwa is hindi ibang tao, ones of us. Have the three types: pagkukubli or masking, pagwawalang bahala, lack of concern, and pagsalungat or disagree. And then let's proceed to the self, proactive and agentic. Now let's start to Bandura social cognitive theory. So Bandora's social cognitive theory have the figure 15. Bandora triadic reciprocal causation, reciprocal determinism. Reciprocal determinism have the environment, person, and behavior. The environment have the stimuli from social or physical environment, and reinforcement contingencies. And the person have the personality characteristics, cognitive processes, and self-regulation skills. The behavior Then the last one, the behavior has nature, frequency, and intensity. Let's proceed to the Bandora's concept of self-efficiency. Or proxy and collective agency. These are performance outcomes, vicarious experiences, verbal persuasion, and sociological feedback. Now, the performance outcomes is feeling of high self-efficiency based upon having prior successful experiences. Vicarious experiences is a situation in which levels of self-efficacy are either increased or reduced as a result of observing another person or group's performance. And verbal persuasion is increased or decreased feeling of self-efficacy centered around positive or negative feedback related to task performance. Then the zoological feedback, the feeling of positive or negative self-efficacy linked to the signals that one's body is sending related to performance.
Now let's proceed to Bandora's concept of self-regulation. This part have three parts: self-observation, judgmental process, and self-reaction. Self-observation monitors our performance. The judgmental process, self-evaluation based on personal standard of reference, value of activity, and performance attribute. And the last one is self-reaction, creates enactives for own action through self-reinforcement or self-punishment.
Now the last part is the figure 16, self-regulation through moral agency. This part has the moral justification, exonerative comparison, euphemistic labeling, and minimizing, ignoring, or misconstruing the consequences. Dehumanization, attribution of blame, and detrimental process, injurious effect, and to victim, and displacement of responsibility and diffusion of responsibility.
George Kelly, American psychologist who developed personal construct theory, constructive alternativism. While there's only one true reality, reality is always experienced from one or another perspective or alternative construction. According to Kelly, personality is made up of many cognitive structures by which every person perceives the world. Kelly's personal construct theory. Kelly thought that everyone behaves like a scientist. Scientists observe phenomena and develop theories and conclusions based on their observations. Kelly's theory. Number 1. Individuals anticipate events by the meaning or interpretations they place on those events called constructs. Number 2. Behavior is shaped by interpretation or construction of the world. Every construction is open to revision or replacement. Number 4. People are not victims of circumstances because they are capable of changing their interpretations of events. Kelly's constructs. Number 1. Core constructs. Importance beliefs that are part of individuals' personal identity. According to George Kelly, basic beliefs that shape how we see ourselves and the world.
They're important to our identity and helps how we understand and engage with our surroundings, reflecting our core principles and values. Number 2, loose constructs. These refer to beliefs that are unstable, weak, and poorly defined. These lead to erratic and often invalid predictions about how the world operates, meaning they lead to unreliable predictions about the world, as they poorly defined and fluctuating. People with loose constructs may make erratic and often inaccurate judgments, hindering their ability to understand and predict the world effectively. Number 3, peripheral constructs. These are beliefs that are relatively unimportant to the person and that can be changed rather easily. Unimportant beliefs that don't heavily influence how individuals see themselves or the world. They're easily changed because they're not core to a person's identity or how they understand reality, unlike core constructs, which are deeply ingrained and crucial to their perception and experiences. Number 4, preemptive constructs. This includes only its own elements and maintains that these elements cannot apply to other constructs. This means that they operate on the idea that some aspects of reality are separated and can't be generalized. Number 5, propositional constructs. These leave all their elements open for modification. This means that individuals are constantly able to adjust, revise, and refine these mental frameworks based on new information, experiences, and insights they encounter. Number 6, constellatory constructs. These allow their elements to belong to other constructs concurrently. Kelly suggests that these constructs can overlap, showing how people organize their understanding of the world. The idea highlights how elements within one idea can also be part of other ideas at the same time, showing the complex and interconnected nature of human thinking. Next slide is Kelly's 11 corollaries. Number 1, construction. Anticipate future events according to their interpretations of recurrent themes. This means understanding patterns and common occurrences to predict what might happen next. The next one is individuality. People have different experiences, therefore construe events in different ways. The idea that due to individuality, people possess different experiences which always lead them to interpret events in different ways. Each person's unique background and perspective shape how they perceive and understand the world around them. Number 3 is organization. Organize their personal constructs in hierarchical system. Organizations, as well as individuals within them, arrange their own personal constructs or cognitive frameworks in a structured and hierarchical manner. These mental frameworks help individuals organize and make sense of their experiences, perceptions, and interpretations of the world. Number 4, dichotomy. People construe events in an either-or manner. People tend to interpret events in a binary fashion, seeing them as either one thing or another, without recognizing shades of gray or considering alternative perspectives. This dichotomous way of thinking can sometimes oversimplify complex situations or limit the range of possible interpretations. Number 5, choice. People choose the alternatives that they see as extending their range of future choices. Individuals make choices based on their perception of how those choices will affect their future options. People tend to select alternatives that they believe will broaden their range of future choices, thereby expanding their opportunities and possibilities down the line. Number 6 is range. Constructs are limited to a particular range of convenience, not relevant to all situations. Number 7, experience. People continually revise their constructs as the result of experience. This refers to the knowledge and understanding gained through direct involvement or exposure to events, situations, or activities. This signifies that the changes in mental constructs occur in response to the lessons, insights, or learning gained from actual life experiences. Number 8 is modulation. Some new experiences do not lead to a revision of constructs because these are concrete and permeable. Number 9 is fragmentation. People's behavior is sometimes inconsistent because their construct system can readily admit incompatible elements. And number 10 is commonality. Personal constructs of people with similar experience tend to be similar. And lastly, number 11, sociality. People can communicate with others because they are able to construe others' construction. It means that individuals are able to engage in communication with others because they have the capability to interpret and understand the mental constructs or frameworks that others have created. This shared understanding facilitates effective communication and interaction between people. So, George Kelly's theory of personal constructs suggests that individuals interpret the world through their own unique set of mental constructs or lenses. These constructs are used to anticipate events, which in turn influence their emotions, thoughts, and actions. Essentially, how people perceive and understand the world is shaped by their personal interpretations and expectations. Kelly argued that these mental constructs are central to understanding human behavior and personality as they guide how individuals navigate and make sense of their experiences.